You know, we all think we know the story of the Titanic. But what if I told you that familiar tale of an unsinkable ship and a tragic accident? Well, it isn't the whole story, not even close. The truth is, the Titanic sinking wasn't just some unavoidable accident. It was a disaster that could have been prevented, caused by a whole cascade of failures. So let's dive in and look at the real evidence.
You know, the people who have spent their lives studying this disaster, they all come to the same conclusion. There wasn't one single reason for what happened. This wasn't about one mistake. No, it was a chain reaction, kind of like a perfect storm where human error, terrible luck, and hidden flaws all collided on that one single fateful night. In this explainer, we're going to break down that chain, link by link. And this, right here, is the heart of what we're looking at today. We're going to shift our thinking away from the myth of some random, tragic accident and toward the reality of a preventable catastrophe, one that honestly could have been stopped at so many different points along the way. Okay, so let's set the scene real quick. Back in 1912, the Titanic was the biggest man-made moving object on the planet. I mean, this thing was a true technological marvel, the absolute last word in luxury and safety. And famously, of course, everyone considered it unsinkable. It was this huge symbol of humanity's triumph over nature.
And yet, on its very first voyage, this unsinkable ship went down, taking almost 1,500 people with it. The sheer scale of that loss is just staggering, and it's why we're still so fascinated by this story more than a century later. It's also why getting the facts right really matters.
So for decades, the story that we all grew up with was incomplete. The first investigations, they had to rely on survivor testimonies, which were often conflicting. You can imagine why. But the most critical piece of evidence, the ship itself, was totally out of reach, lost in the abyss.
Just think about that for a second. For 73 years, the truth was just sitting there on the ocean floor. It wasn't until 1985, when the wreck was finally discovered, that investigators could actually analyze the physical evidence. And that discovery, it changed absolutely everything we thought we knew.
Okay, so let's start with that chain of events we talked about. The first part of this whole preventable disaster is this incredible cascade of human errors and just plain bad luck that put this modern marvel on a direct collision course with destiny.
It really was a domino effect. First, the captain kept the ship going at nearly full speed. We're talking 22 knots, even though they got ice warnings from 14 other ships. Then, you've got this dangerously deceptive night. The sea was perfectly calm, there was no moon, which meant there was none of that white surf you'd normally see breaking against an iceberg, and to top it all off, the lookouts in the crow's nest had no binoculars. Why? Because the key to the locker they were in was accidentally taken ashore by an officer who got replaced right before the ship set sail.
But here's the thing, human error and bad luck were only part of the story.